There are tons of reviews of the CMF Watch Pro, the first generation one. But the one thing that's not on YouTube is mine. And so I'm going to give you guys one today. My first impressions full review, technically, on the CMF Watch Pro. However, before I get into that, if you guys could do me a solid, smash the like button. I would deeply appreciate that. If you just subscribed, thanks for doing that and taking a chance on this guy. Really appreciate it and hope to see you in future live streams as well as your comments in future videos. If you guys want to try out Helium Mobile, you guys can do so 1 month free on me just using the promo code in the description. So take advantage. Now let's cue the roll and let's get into the first impressions of the CMF Watch Pro. All right. So for those who don't know, my name is Tito, and I love reviewing tech devices and talking about mobile tech, and also, like different carriers out there that can save you money on having phone service. But in today's video, we are taking a look at the CMF Watch Pro. I'm going to give you guys my first impressions, thought about it. So don't really consider this as like my full entire review of the smartwatch. I may do that video down the road sometime as I had more time to play around with it. But there are some things about the CMF Watch Pro that I do want to talk about, and so that's what this video is for. Before we get into it, though, I do want to set the premise of what a smartwatch is to me, so that way you guys know how I'm gauging this thing compared to every other reviewer out there. And to me, a smartwatch is a satellite extension of your smartphone, literally to bring you notifications without having to pull out your device, as well as having some fitness tracking features to be able to help you reach your goals in fitness. That's pretty much it. So all the extra stuff that I've experienced on, say, on my other types of smartwatches like the Pixel Watch, to me, those are nice features to have, but those aren't features that are, demanded by me. So hopefully that sets the premise of how I'm going to be approaching my thoughts about the CMF Watch Pro. Now, the first things first that I noticed about this watch is that it's absolutely light, in my opinion, to compared to other watches that I have used, I've put on and have, felt a little bit like it's weight. Like I know that if I jump into a pool right now, I am not sinking to the bottom of the pool with this thing on. Even though it looks a bit bulky, I am not worried about like the weight. It almost feels like it's not even there. And this is honestly one of the only smartwatches I've ever owned that I've kept on my wrist without removing for any type of irritation. I haven't felt any irritation of just wanting to take it off. Like, you ever have a watch on and you're just like, oh my God, you're always fiddling with it because you feel like it's got your wrist in a vice grip, and you eventually just take it off and put it down for a while. Then you forget to put it back on because you're like, hey, my wrist feels better without it on. Yeah, I don't feel that at all with the CMF Watch Pro. It's very comfortable on my wrist, and that's like one of the big key things that I'm gauging this watch by, because what's the point of having a smartwatch that you're not going to be wearing on a consistent basis? You know, there's just no reason to buy one. So the fact that I can have this comfortably on my wrist, being that it's squared and being that it's, thick and bulky, that is a very good thing. So the fact that, CMF by nothing literally took the time to understand that a smartwatch should be on your wrist, should give you all the things that you want out of a smartwatch, but it shouldn't let you know that it's presently there when you're not even really trying to think about the watch. That's a good move. So big ups to them on that. Now, the fact that it is, lightweight, one of the things about the watch that I'm also, thoroughly enjoying and currently shooting a video on is the battery life of this thing. This thing's got amazing battery. Like literally today, I can wrap up my CMF Watch Pro battery test video because we're at day 4 right now and it's at 59%. So kind of giving my, expectations of how I'm using the watch. I can literally say that I'm geared to get about 8 to 9 days of battery life. So not exactly 13 days of battery life as advertised, but that's still impressive that I'm only going to be really charging this watch once a week just to keep it, fully charged up, and allows me to go through the week without having to, have battery anxiety and be like, oh my God, I got to charge my smartwatch. I'm about to leave my house, because that kind of sucks, right? When you're like, you forget to charge your smartwatch, it's been on your wrist, you're doing your thing. You're like, oh, okay, I got to go do this. And then your watch is like at 21%. You're like, oh my God, you don't want a dead smartwatch on your wrist that does nothing when you're out and about. So people get battery anxiety, and this is one thing you don't have to worry about with the CMF Watch Pro. So battery is 10 out of 10 in my opinion. This is pretty solid, pretty solid. Now, with the features, there are features, there are good features, there are features that some would say is missing out of it. And I will let you guys know if those missing features are impacting my experience. So one of the first features that people kind of like really take notice of is that it doesn't have like an ambient lights, sensor switcher. What I mean by that is that there's not a sensor that lets the watch know if it's like in sunlight or if it's indoor, and so it doesn't auto adjust the brightness on it. Now, that would be nice to have because having your display pretty much be tuned as to its surrounding environment's lighting, that's always a nice thing. However, I feel like that with that type of sensor in here would probably deplete the battery faster because you're having a sensor pretty much draw power from the battery in order for it to execute commands that it needs to be doing, which is adjusting the display brightness based upon the environment that you're in. So for me, getting more battery, in my opinion, I'm not hurting with this feature not available on the CMF Watch Pro. The fact is that I can adjust the brightness myself. Doing something like swiping down and then just tapping on the brightness button in the quick settings, to me is not it's not strenuous work. It's not something that's like, oh my god, why do I have to do this? It doesn't bother me to that effect. So not having that sensor, not a big deal. Um, Things like crash detection, fall detection that I've had on my Google Pixel Watch. The fact that the CMF Watch Pro doesn't have something like that, as far as from what I know, playing around with this watch and discovering it, still not detrimental for me. Like I said, that's why I laid the groundwork of what I think a smartwatch should be. Is that getting my notifications and it tracking my sleep and tracking my fitness workouts is really all that I really want out of it, and that's why I'm content with the CMF Watch Pro. So the fact is that this is, if you guys don't know, this is my preferred and probably only smartwatch for a while. And maybe I'll upgrade to the CMF Watch Pro 2 at a later time, though I've been using a circular smartwatch body for a while. The Pixel Watch is round instead of squared off like this. So this is kind of like a palate cleanser, refreshing for me to use something like this. I've had other ones that are like cheapy stuff that you find on like Temu or Amazon for like $10. And while those are good, I think that those are good and pretty decent. Um, this pretty much like combines the thought of those things. Not saying that this is cheap, even though this is an affordable smartwatch, it really is. But combining, basically making it affordable, but making it not just feature packed just to have gimmicky features in it, but feature packed as in things that you could really use to your advantage, to benefit you. This watch does it. It does have proprietary software, so it's not Wear OS. Yeah, you guys get the point. It's got its own software on here, kind of like how the Galaxy Gear watches were running Tizen for a little bit, which was Samsung's own software. Very similar. So you can't download apps from the Play Store and put it on here, but a lot of the apps that it has are like apps that you would genuinely use on your smartwatch, right? Like settings. You would want settings to be able to adjust things to your liking. You'd want to be able to do software updates in the settings, by updating the software. It's got things that has to do with like tracking your sleep, tracking your health. Like those things are present in this watch, So the fact that it has proprietary software is not detrimental in my eyes. And I think it does great because it's paired to my Nothing Phone 1, so they do play well together. The talk between them on Bluetooth is fine. I'm not experiencing any impact points where like the watch is like not talking to the phone, so there's a break in the link. So far, the connectivity has been stellar and on par with what I expect for a watch to do. So I'm getting my notifications on time. Not a problem at all whatsoever. I'm not having to reset or do anything quirky just to get the watch to connect with the phone and read out info. Now it does have a feature that I really enjoy and I think does really good on this watch. So good, it's actually better than what I've had with the Pixel Watch, and that's taking calls on the watch itself. Now, when my wife calls me, it was so much easier to just take the call on my watch, especially if I'm driving and picking up my daughters from school. My hands are in front of me, 10 and 2 o'clock on the steering wheel. It's right there. And even when I'm like turning the steering wheel to keep myself in the lane that I'm in, right? Because cars don't just immediately go straight. You do have to kind of balance it a little bit so you maintain your lane. Even with all the movement, she was able to hear me very clearly. I mean, she said that she didn't know that I had her on speaker on my watch talking to her. She thought I was talking to her with the phone up to my ear. That's the type of volume that she was getting from my vocals and the clarity of it. So taking phone calls on this watch is pretty good. And I've taken a couple of them, and in my battery test, it doesn't eat the battery like super quickly like I thought it would. So yeah, in Reliance, you can pretty much be Dick Tracy with this, and secret squirrel spy, talk to somebody, it'll just be just fine. You'll be fine. I think that's pretty cool. Now, it does lack a couple of things, right? So the camera feature on here, there is no camera on the watch itself, but like, you can set up your nothing phone on a tripod, and you can snap a photo with the family. But the downside to that is, and it has not been updated with the proprietary software, is that while you do have a shutter button from the watch to take the picture from the device, it doesn't give you any preview. You don't have a preview to see like, oh, okay, we're all in frame. Let's ready, 3, 2, 1, say cheese and tap it and then pose your shot. I'm just like, okay, I like simplicity on things, but some things I feel like, you could have added in the ability for it to project and mirror what the camera is seeing on your phone. Because some people want to take, a family photo and they don't want to use a selfie camera. They want to use the main camera in the back, and that's where that could have greatly benefited. So hopefully, CMF is going to change this with, within the third generation, because I don't know if the second generation now has the ability to see what the camera is seeing, but something I felt that was a missed opportunity with this watch. Is that also the music player sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work, and really it's not its own music player. Again, everything is Bluetooth to the phone, so sometimes when I want to skip track, sometimes it doesn't recognize the skip track, and that can be refined in future models. However, if that's something that is like a deal breaker for you, you guys got to know that it does that. So anyways, other than that, all the other things, like exercise, health rate, blood oxygen, activity, sleep, stress, a camera, remote, weather, breathing, voice assistant, stopwatch, timers, alarms, calculators, flashlight, find my phone, which I think is another one that I haven't tried that. Let's try it right now. It works. um, a lot of people were reporting that for them it didn't work, but it just worked for me. So hey, maybe it's like it works sometimes. So on an update review, I'll let you guys know if it worked every time that I tested it. So I'll probably run 10 tests over a span of like a couple of weeks and see if it works every time that I hit that button to find my phone. And if there's one time that it doesn't do it, or 2 times or 3 times it doesn't do it, I'll let you guys know. Overall, with its native watch band, its design, everything is really comfortable about this. I even love the fact that the band has like little, like a logo right there. I mean, it's not in your face like, oh, look at me, I'm a logo right here on the watch, but it does add a little aesthetics to it that I think is nice. It's not overbearing, it's not in your face, but it is there. You can appreciate the small details, how refined this thing is just for being its very first generation. Is it missing some features? Yeah, of course. Is there things you could add into to make it better? Of course. There's always room for improvement. But from the very start, okay, good battery life, tons of features that are useful and needed. You get your notifications when you need them. You can take phone calls from this. It is light. It's not gonna like take you down with the Titanic. It's pretty solid. And obviously, that's just my first impressions, and we're already hitting 15 minutes into a video. So yeah, there's a lot to talk about. Which is good now, because when I do the review, I don't really have to touch too deep into those things I talked about today. Maybe like a little refresher, but nothing so heavily core deep. But this is my first impressions with the CMF Watch Pro. Shout out to Nothing Technology. I think they're doing fantastic. I'm very, very eager to see what they come up with down the road in the future. And hopefully they become US based, because I would love to be able to get these things here brand new out of the box here and not have to have it shipped to me. I'm one of those people where I just can't deal with things being shipped to me taking a week or whatever. I get shipping anxiety. I want the phone in hand right away. And so the only way that's going to happen is if, Nothing brings their products to the US and has a US base. But again, they're a startup company, so they are gradually growing, and not over rushing things. And I can appreciate that. That is my quick first impressions, thoughts over the CMF Watch Pro. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are, comments, concerns, emotional outbursts in the comment section of the video. Thanks for watching today's video. Smash the like button if you guys enjoyed it, and I will talk to you on the next one. And as always, aloha.